Normally, you were able to get a vaccine. You were able to get an exemption from taking vaccines if you said you were a religious person because of the stuff that's inside the vax. Sometimes it could come from. Doesn't it come from fetal tissue or something like that, or something they have a problem with? So you used to be able to get that. All you used to have to say, they stopped doing that during COVID. Why? Because that's how powerful Big Pharma is. And now what's happening? NorthShore University Health to pay $10.3 million in COVID-19 vaccine lawsuit. That's from August 1st. Here, I'm going to let the lady from CBS Chicago take it away.
$10.3 million. That's how much hospital group NorthShore University has agreed to pay in a COVID-19 vaccine lawsuit. More than a dozen healthcare workers sued the Evanston-based group after they were denied religious exemptions for vaccinations. In a statement, NorthShore said the settlement reflects its new vaccine policy at Edward Elmhurst Health.
So I like how they reported that. Let me just...
$10.3 million. That's how much hospital group NorthShore University has agreed to pay in a COVID-19 vaccine lawsuit. More than a dozen healthcare workers sued.
I like how they say it, more than a dozen healthcare workers. Why not just give me the number of healthcare workers that sued? More than a dozen? You want to know how many it was? It was 13. Why not just say 13? Isn't that weird? More than a dozen. What, does that sound more badass than 13 former employees sued? More than a dozen. Like, what? Why would they do that? Isn't that weird? It makes it less accurate of a story. So here's the rest of the information. You want to know the rest of the... Oh. It's nice. First of all, it is nice to know as a taxpayer, Jackson, that first we get to pay for the vaccines, and now we get to pay for the settlements to healthcare workers who were forced to get the vaccines against their will. Isn't that something?
It is something. It is something.
This settlement approved in the Illinois, or do you say Illinois? The settlement approved in the Illinois Northern District Court will result in 473 employees of the system eligible for compensation for being denied religious exemption to the vaccine mandate, with any of those fired as a result of the rules being eligible for 25 grand, eh? The 13 plaintiffs involved in the suit, that's more than a dozen, will be eligible for an additional 20 grand. That brings it up to 55 grand, or 45 grand if I'm doing my math right. While those who complied with the mandate, if you complied with it and you kept, they're eligible to just get 3 grand. So they get screwed twice. Anyone fired because of their refusal to get the jab will also be eligible for reemployment in the system.
Wow. That's really big, because think about all the people across the country. I mean, there was a website keeping track of the tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of healthcare workers that were fired over this. And then you had you had military personnel and Navy SEALs, the healthiest people in the country, that were fired over not getting the jab.
70,000 healthcare workers in New York State alone were fired for not getting the jab. So now all those people are going to have this case law on their side when they file their lawsuit, and they're probably going to win. And guess who's going to pay? You and me. Staver said, Staver is the guy. So the people who were sued on, it's called the Liberty Council. They're the people pushing these lawsuits. And this guy from there, Staver, he said the group is not just limiting the battle over mandates to the Illinois healthcare workers, telling the Washington Examiner that Liberty Council is working for private sector employees in industries such as airlines and other healthcare systems. We've been working with thousands of employees across the country, he said. Many of them face the same job or job mandate that is that issue in North Shore. Holy shit, that was hard for me to read. Anyway, so there you go. So now the lawsuits are starting to happen. And again, more vindication for the Jimmy Dore show. And, it didn't take a genius to get this right about mandates. What it took was courage to stick your chin out and be against it. Because everybody and their brother called me an anti-vaxxer. I lost close friends over this. Yes, close friends. People used to work for my show. No longer friends. Over this issue that, of course, I'm being vindicated on. The mandates were 100% wrong, and we were right that you can't vaccinate your way out of this pandemic. You can't do it. Those were the two things that I was pushing on this show since I got vaccine injured. was that you can't vaccinate your way out of this. No matter how many people get vaccinated, we're all still going to get COVID. And you can't mandate it. And that's why. So, okay. Anything you'd like to add to that, Jackson?
I just love to see it. But you brought up that, taxpayers are going to have to pay the front of these lawsuits. What if it's private companies? Aren't they going to be just, shelling out their own cash for it? Or am I missing something?
Well, you're not missing anything, but you are really wrecking the joke. Because they're just going to pass that cost on to consumers. That's why. How about that, Jackson? How about that medical group's going to pass those costs on to their consumers? It's a tax on all of us.
I'm sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
I would like them to sue the New York. Like in New York, I hope they sue the governor and they sue the government.
Well, when they go out, they're going to go out. They have to go after the military. That was the most insane thing of all. Like I heard Jocko Willink, that former Navy SEAL, talking about how you have like the healthiest guys in the country getting deemed not healthy because they won't get it, and then they get fired. And think about all the training they have to go through to get to that point. It's like, isn't it years and years of training to become a Navy SEAL?
I don't know, but I know it's intense training for sure. I've seen videos. They don't let them sleep for like a week, stuff like that. They do crazy shit. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, there's going to be lots of lawsuits, and we are going to have to pay for them, especially when it comes to the military and public hospitals and stuff like that. Yeah, we're going to have to pay for them. But hey, thanks, Fauci. Appreciate it. And thanks every dickhead in the world who didn't have the balls to stick your chin out and question Big Pharma or Fauci or any part of the COVID narrative, and you still call yourself a comedian. You're a fucking embarrassment to the comedian profession. You don't question the goddamn COVID narrative. Holy shit. Hey, we're coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, Los Angeles, Spokane, Tacoma, Denver. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets for all our live shows. See you there.